Hi, I'm Matt Collins. I'd like to welcome you to Bob Weber Auto Mart on Douglas Avenue here in Racine, across from Douglas Park. We specialize in 1-year-old, low mileage, almost new cars. And if you'd like to stop by and see them, or see them on our website, bobweberautomart.com, we could save you between $5,000 and $10,000 on your next almost new car purchase.
Welcome into another edition of Sports Junkies. Time to talk a little Milwaukee Bucks basketball. Still number one in our tank rank as we aim to be the number one overall pick in the June amateur draft. I'm Steve Sparky Fifer with Sports Radio 1250 WSSP. He, of course, Gery Woelfel, and he is a man here at the Racine Journal-Times and RacineSportsZone.com. Gery,
what kind of comment is that? You are the master of words. You're a wordsmith. He's a man. No kidding.
I have continued to have the same question asked to me for the last 4 or 5 days. People text messaging me. Now, my phone has been dead and I can't get it to recharge all that well, so majority of them I got yesterday when I got my phone to finally charge. But having said that, this is a question that people keep asking me, so I'm just going to ask you, and you can respond to all of the people.
All of the people.
The question I continue to get is, why does Gery Woelfel hate Larry Sanders so much?
People are actually calling you?
They say it's what do they call it? You don't need to bash him as much as you do. It's almost like you're on a tirade against Larry Sanders.
I am on a tirade against
Twitter and so forth.
That's a very good point.
Okay, so go ahead, take the floor. Go ahead.
Yes, I do like Larry Sanders as a person. He has always been cordial to me. We've had a great rapport over the years. But his conduct on the court and off the court is just unacceptable, and it's reached the point where it's really ridiculous at this point. 3 straight games now he's got a technical foul. He got thrown out of the game the other night
for the elbow.
I mean, that's embarrassing to the organization. I mean, I swear that Dennis Rodman never got thrown out of 3 straight games.
Probably. I would guess.
No, I'll bet
odds are probably pretty good.
But I'm just saying, he's got to get it under control. But the problem is, the Bucks said that to him last year. We got to get this under control. They tried to give him all sorts of help. Nothing panned out. So that is why I feel strongly about it.
Okay, now that leads me to another thing that got brought up.
I didn't expect that question right out of the chute.
Well, it's driving me crazy because I don't want to necessarily defend you.
Well, and I don't know what's your take on this. You think it's acceptable to have a clown like that on the floor? It's almost like J.R. Smith coming up, untying a guy's shoe.
That was funny. But
it's unprofessional.
Well, maybe unprofessional. That was funny. That wasn't like Larry Sanders throwing the elbows at people's heads.
And what was it? $100,000 worth of funny?
Yeah, something like that. But this is where I'm at. There was rumblings nationally about Eric Gordon, being traded from the Pelicans and teams that fit. And it was suggested that the Bucks be one of those teams and that they move a Larry Sanders and an O.J. Mayo for an Eric Gordon and something, because I think they would have to give up Greg Steensmar or some other type of role player in order to make it work financially.
Sure.
And I did that on our post-game show the other night. Now, having said that, a majority of people said absolutely not, because Eric Gordon's always hurt, number one. And a lot of other people don't want to give up on Larry Sanders quite yet. They're not there. When I proposed that trade to you on the Big State Basketball post-game show, you also didn't want to make that deal either.
I would be very reluctant because and you know what? And it's primarily because of the contract. I don't want a $14 million contract.
But hold on a second. Yeah. If it's primarily money, you're saving $30 million in space in order to do this, because if you take that $19 million that you're going to trade away in Sanders and Mayo, next year you're saving $4 to $5 million. The year after that, 2015, you're saving $4 to $5 million. Then Gordon's gone as a free agent. You would still be on the hook for another $11 million for 2 more years at $22 million for Larry Sanders. You're saving about $30 million by making this trade, and you have literally nobody really on the books going into 2016 other than the draft picks you'll have for the next couple of years.
Okay.
But no big money.
Well, the other thing, too, getting back to Larry Sanders, I was talking to a general manager last week, and we were talking about his off-the-court issues, on-the-court issues, whatever, and he said, you know what, I can actually overlook that. I could possibly overlook that. And he goes, but I don't know how good he is. And you know what, if you watch Larry Sanders this year, he hasn't been very good.
He looks like Larry Sanders from 2 years ago.
He does. He does. And all of a sudden, you just wonder, did the money, go to his head? Does he have that same drive, same incentive? And you got this guy for $44 million over the next 4 years. That's going to be an albatross.
That's a lot of money.
And that's a lot of money.
You used the one out you could have had by getting rid of Larry Sanders on Drew Gooden last year. with a collective bargaining agreement by saying, bye-bye, Drew Gooden, yeah, we'll still pay you, but you're off of our books.
Yeah,
you can't do that now.
And you know what? And that's the problem. You know, which really surprised me, because I thought the Bucks, if they were going to amnesty Drew Gooden, they should have done 2 years ago.
Right.
Last year, now you only had, one more year left on his contract, if I'm not mistaken. Why do it then? You know, because, I mean, you never know when you make a bad deal. And
I think if, right now, John Hammond is general manager of this team, he has to have a home run pick in the draft in June. And a home run pick that's going to come in and you're going to know right away that, all right, this kid's going to be a player in the league for a long time.
Sam
He needs
Dekker.
that. Because if he doesn't get that player, I think it might be over. Because if Larry Sanders doesn't get any better, that might be it for John Hammond if he doesn't get a home run pick in June. He needs a home run pick badly.
Well, he does, you know, and the problem is if you take a Wiggins or an Embiid, it's going to be 2-3 years before those guys really reach their potential. And that might be the soonest, you know. So John Hammond takes one of those guys. How can you say we're going to get rid of him?
Embiid's a project for sure.
Yeah, and so is Wiggins. There isn't any doubt about it. Athletically, he's got the package, but he's got a lot of things to refine in this game. I was talking to a scout the other day, and he said the teams at the top are going to have a tough decision. Do you pick the best player now, which is Parker? And this was interesting. He made a comparison between Parker and Paul Pierce. He said you could have Paul Pierce for the next 10 or 12 years, have a 22-point-per-game score. You know, you have a very good player.
I can see that. Rebounds, assists.
Or you might go with Wiggins or Embiid, who 3 or 4 years from now could be dominant players.
Yep.
But you don't know. You know, it's the X
factor. And for me, it's Wiggins. I love Wiggins, and Wiggins would be my player over Parker. But I'm not going to blast John either way. Parker or Wiggins, take whoever you want. I'm happy. If they go Embiid, if the Bucks get one and they take Embiid over Parker and Wiggins, then I'm going to be furious.
Yeah, I agree.
But
I agree.
I want those two first. And once you get past two, now it's up to you. Because now you got Smart in Oklahoma State, the point guard. You've got Embiid on the board. You got Aaron Gordon, the forward from Arizona. If he comes out,
overrated.
I like him a lot.
Oh, he's so overrated.
That's where we're at here as far as who we're going to be.
And Randall.
And Julius Randle, right?
Kentucky. The thing I like about Parker, and I'm a big proponent of this, unless you're Magic Johnson, if I got a top pick, I want a prolific scorer, a guy that can just flat out score.
And I think Wiggins is a better scorer than Parker when he's all said and done.
He's
not going to be the rebounder or assist guy that Parker is. Parker's more of a complete package. He's going to help other guys, and he's going to score.
Parker's a prolific scorer. You know what? He ran off, I think, 7 or 8 20-plus games.
And then he had like 6 against Notre Dame or something.
Oh, one game, big deal.
No, I understand that.
I mean, overall, his big picture is very good. The thing I don't like about Wiggins, and I've seen him like 4 or 5 times now, he's tentative. He gets the ball on the outside. He looks. He reminds me a little bit of Jameel Wilson at Marquette. If you watch Jameel Wilson, they don't attack the basket. I'm not saying from a talent standpoint. I'm just saying.
I know what you're saying. I think I don't know what Jameel's problem is. That we could do a whole other video on Jameel Wilson by itself. But I think it's Bill Self. That's where I'm going to go to Bill Self. I'm going to go, that's the issue. You know what, because I'm telling you right now, if he was with Calipari, Gary, he'd be averaging 20 a night.
I don't know if he would.
If he was with Cal, he would be. Because this is a difference, in my opinion. Yeah. Bill Self is trying to win college basketball games and get himself a national championship. Calipari, good, but he's getting these guys ready for the NBA. When he gets these freshmen, he knows they want to go to the NBA. So he's getting them in a position to go to the NBA as soon as possible. And I just think they're two different coaching styles. And that's why I say, if you're a one-and-done player, I'm going to play for Cal. I'm not going to play for Bill Self. I'm just not.
You know what? I tend to agree with you, but at the same time, when I saw Wiggins play the other night, he had 4 shots from maybe 15 to 20 feet, okay? None of them were close. If you're a great player, at least 1 or 2 is going to be close. Mm-hmm. None of them were. And I'm thinking, like, his skill set is not as good as people think it is. I mean, athletically, like I said, he's got the package. But if you miss 4 shots from 15 to 20 feet, there's an issue there.
And see, that's going to be the other thing. The other thing is going to be when these guys come out is how much do you see of drive in them? Because the psychological aspects of a big thing, too. If I give Wiggins all this money, is he going to have the drive to be great in the offseason, or is he not going to? Is it not going to be there? Because you have to have drive in order to get to where he's at right now, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. So now, how much more drive do you have? Because we talked when we did our preps video with Sean Brady from St. Cat's about the difference between high school and that first year in college, and how much of a shock it is to your system.
Sure.
From the girl's standpoint, but it is from the boy's standpoint too. It's totally different than anything you've done. Well, now you're going from college of 1 year to the NBA for one more year, and like Coach Brady said, you can't even simulate the intensity level between high school and college. So can you imagine what it is like from college to the pros, and then you add in women and booze and all this other stuff that goes along with the NBA life? That's a big adjustment. I mean, look at Giannis. I bet you Giannis, for the first couple of months was in culture shock. What is the world are we doing? What is this?
He was probably in culture shock being in that locker room. That would,
fine. But either way, I mean, that's a big adjustment.
I was joking there.
So I mean,
I was going to say, what this draft reminds me of? I see a lot of parallels between the two. Is the big dog Glenn Robinson and Jason Kidd draft, where, as you recall, going to that draft,
Glenn was one, and that was it. Two and three were the debate.
No, I mean there were people that still liked those other guys, and it came down to beauty was in the eye of the beholder. I mean, what did your team need? And the Bucks wanted a prolific scorer. I mean, there are some people that call Big Dog the next Oscar Robertson.
Right.
I mean, the hype.
He dominated in college.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, I talked to Donnie Walsh, who saw Big Dog play tons of times before he got to the pros, and he was sold. I mean, he thought he was going to be an absolute stud. So, but this draft is very similar. I mean, what do you need and what do you want? What's your philosophy going forward?
But see, that's just the issue. Bucks, what's their need, Gary?
They need a prolific scorer. They everybody gets down on Brandon Knight, and I can understand why at times. Who on the team can score?
Nobody.
Exactly.
You paid $8 million to O.J. Mayo, who's been inconsistent his whole career, and said, now go be a star. Clearly, he doesn't.
That's my point. They have one guy that will actually take the ball to the hole, and that's Brandon Knight. And he's played well for the last 3 weeks. I mean, at a very high level. He had a bad game the other night, but for the most part, he's been very good. But you go down the rest of the lineup, Sanders can't score. He's horrible.
But again, we knew that when they gave him the contract, he couldn't score.
Right, but my point is, who scores in that game?
Ersan, you gave money to because he was supposed to come around. He's still the same inconsistent Ersan Ilyasova. Nothing's changed there. You gave O.J. Mayo money, who has been a role guy for most of his career, and nothing has changed there.
That's not true. He's been a starter for most of his career.
He ended up coming off the bench in Memphis. It was so bad they tried to play him at point guard in the Vegas Summer League, trying to figure out how to get him in the lineup.
Yeah.
He is not a consistent basketball player.
No, but that
He's
goes...
just not. He disappears in games.
That goes back to my point. And even Giannis, as much as I like Giannis, I don't know if he's going to be a big-time scorer.
No, we have no idea.
Right, exactly.
Right.
So that's why I love Parker. Parker's going to come in and get you 20 right off the bat. The kid's got an offensive game that's second to none.
Well, it should be interesting to see what happens, because if they don't get one or two, then let the debate begin, because then everybody's going to have their own guy that they want.
Sam Dekker.
And things are going to get real interesting for John Hammond.
You like Sam Dekker?
In the following year's draft.
This year.
No, because I think he could go higher the following year.
Oh, sure he could.
Right, so why come out this year if you could be, instead of being 15 to 20, 25, the next year you can be top 10. Why wouldn't you wait and come out to your top 10 and improve your game, become stronger?
I will go on record right now saying he'll be a lottery pick this year.
Do you realize...
Okay,
fine. But do you realize that the Badgers basketball team, we're supposed to be talking Bucks, the Badger basketball team only loses Ben Brust after this year? That's it.
Yeah, and Sam Dekker.
And you add in another freshman class to go along with Nigel Hayes, who will be a sophomore next year and better, to go along with Bronson Koenig, who's a stud.
Yeah.
Go along with him. That Badger team next year could be really dangerous if Dekker comes back.
If Dekker comes back,
but
right.
Gary, he's friends with all these guys. I'm telling you,
What's that got to do?
I don't think he leaves. I think he's enjoying the college lifestyle. I don't think school bothers him. I don't think it's an issue where some other guys where they don't want to be in school to begin with and they would never have won if they didn't have to. So I don't think that's the issue. And I think depending on what they do in the tournament this year, if they get on a run and he sees what they have plus what's coming in,
and
he may go, you know what, I'm going to come back and see if we can make
this.
And
if he gets on a run, his stock is going to soar. I mean,
if they get on a run, right.
Yeah, right, exactly. No, I like him a lot.
Who is he?
Mike Miller.
Mike Miller!
You know who Mike Miller is?
Yeah, of course. Came out of Florida.
And he was on, the 6th pick in the draft? Very similar, 6'8".
Do you know who I think he is?
Who?
Rudy Gay.
Not really.
I think he's really gay. Because everybody likes to compare white guys to white guys.
Oh, I know.
So why don't we compare a white guy to a black guy and see what you come up with? I'm going to say I think he's more like Rudy Gay. Because Mike Miller was limited athletically. He was just a shooter for the most part. And get to the
Mike Miller is a very good player. He got injured a little bit early in his career, but Again, Mike Miller was like the number 6, 7 pick in the draft.
Yeah, way overrated coming out of Florida. Well, highly overrated coming out of Florida.
I disagree.
He's a jump shooter. That's what he was. Dak was far more athletic than Mike Miller was.
I think he's I actually believe he's better than Mike Miller. So. He
is Gery Woelfel. I'm Steve Sparky Fifer. This has been another edition Talking Bucks basketball here of Sports Junkies at RacineSportsZone.com.